baby.
And as we bring in Aditi, I do want to say Aditi texted me last night and goes, "Oh my goodness, G went crazy viral. Are you serious? Can we put Aditi in a 5-box here with us, Steve?" G, we all love you, man. You are the worst person with your phone in the world. G, I'm not sure knew he went viral until he finally read my text 8 hours later about Mike Parsons retweeting it. Aditi, I'm not kidding. When I told you last night, he had no idea.
I was like, I mean, it was really funny because I said to Mikey, I said, "I'm so sorry. I've been like crazed. I didn't realize that she went so viral." And frankly, I think it was Micah Parsons retweeting you that made me realize, made me watch the whole thing, all of that. And Mikey McNugget said, "I don't think G knows."
No, I didn't know. Like,
and they said he's not responding to texts. I'm like, because he's blowing up so much, he's ignoring all the texts.
No, he's big timing you.
No. My mom. Really. There's a funny. I don't answer my phone so much sometimes that I was sick and I called off to work here, and my wife was like, "Where's he at? Where's he at?" I watch every day to make sure he made it there. She leaves for work before I do, to make sure he's there. So she texts McNuggets like, "Hey,
wait, you went off the grid with wifey?"
No, I was
You were there,
sick.
Jay.
You were here that day.
You were here that day. G didn't answer anybody. We were
Remember
worried
she
about
texted
him.
Mike?
Yeah, I do remember that now.
Oh, I didn't answer her either. It was crazy.
I told you, Aditi.
Guys, I've got a story that could top that one. So this is my very first sideline for CBS. I'm down in Carolina. It's the Browns-Panthers week 1 of this season. And I'm sitting in the production meetings with Kevin Stefanski and the Browns, one by one. And my phone is blowing up because my Simply Safe alarm system keeps saying that there's been some sort of a breach. And I don't know what's going on. So I'm texting my husband and I'm just like, hey, Matt. And my husband is at a Pitt football game with my son and my daughter, and Matt's not answering me. And Myles Garrett walks in the room, and all of a sudden, I see video on my phone of police around my house. And I'm like, oh my God, guys, I'm so sorry, but the cops are at my house. And I get up, walk out of the meeting. This is the first time that I'm working with this crew. This is the first time I'm doing the sideline. I'm totally probably getting fired. I call the police department, and I call somebody that I think is at the Pitt football game to be like, hey, is Matt sitting anywhere near you? And she's like, yeah, he's right here. I'm like, well, can you ask him to get off his you-know-what? The cops are at the house. So then I walk back in, and Myles Garrett, this is a true story. Myles Garrett is sitting there, he's talking about Baker Mayfield and the defense and all that. And Myles is like, is everything okay? And I'm like, yeah, my bleeping husband just needs to get off of his bleeping bleep. Myles loses it, Jay Feely loses it, and I'm just like, at this point, I'm losing my job. Who cares? So you know how I feel about men who don't pick up the phone. Pick up the phone.
It's obnoxious. You're 100% right.
We're all bad, but you are awfully bad.
So I take very strong medication, people. When my neck hurts, I take this medication, and I'm like,
you're out.
It's incoherent.
Plus, you don't sleep at night.
And I have insomnia, so it's crazy. Like, I used to have people wake me up for my radio show at like 5 or 6. I said, listen, please, during the pandemic, it was just me. I just said, listen, make sure I get up, because if I don't, I can't control it. So, yeah, I was just asleep because I took my medicine, but my mom called me. She called me 8 times. McNuggets was like, I didn't know what to say. So it worked out well, but yeah, if I don't answer you, it's for a decent reason, I think.
You're usually heavily medicated.
Yes, I'm usually sedated.
Your husband doesn't have that same excuse, Aditi.
Yeah.
No.
I
not even remotely. I mean,
Aditi,
come on.
You do know though.
You can call Myles Garrett now and ask Myles Garrett about Aditi's husband, and he'll be like, "Oh
Did
yeah,
he
that's
apologize?
Wouldn't pick up the phone when the cops were at the house."
Did he apologize? Was he like, "Oh, I'm sorry, hon. I'm sorry. It was just I couldn't hear my phone."
You know what though, Aditi? I'm gonna come to your husband's defense. I've been at games oftentimes where I can't get a text or a phone call out, and I get nothing in because I'm surrounded by 60,000 people that are hogging up all the cell
But then,
space.
Jay, why was my friend Becky, who's sitting 3 rows away from us?
She has a better carrier.
No, wait. I knew that would be your next question, so I'm going to explain it the way it's been explained to me.
Alibi.
It's literally like sand fighting to get through the small hole in the hourglass.
This dude is good.
Some
man.
get through.
This guy's good.
But not all of it gets through.
Aditi,
Jay, is this how you've been married for 20-something years?
I'm hiring Jay as my defense attorney.
This guy's freaking good, man.
Wait a second. As the only non-Neanderthal on this panel, a man who had my best man was a woman. Unlike these animals, your husband was out of line. He should have answered the phone.
What if it didn't ring?
There's no way it didn't ring. He's full of. That's an excuse that a guy would make.
Oh, I don't know.
That's full of. How many times did you call him?
I mean, at this point, I don't remember, but it was a lot. I am that person. I hate that person, but I am that person that will call.
So there's no way it didn't ring every time. No way it didn't ring every time.
He got the business.
I don't know, man. I've been at games where for the entire 3.5 hours, I can't get anything out and I get nothing in. And then you walk out of the stadium, you're 5 miles away, and all of a sudden,
your phone explodes.
42 missed calls.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
I mean, it is a true story. That does happen. Yes, Jay, that does. But on this
Jay sits in the high roller seats. He doesn't have that problem. He's got personal internet. He's sitting right behind. I mean, he's got his own personal internet.
No,
Who's he kidding?
This isn't true. Aditi, you know the Steelers as well as anyone. That's why we're thrilled that we're going to talk Steelers. Like, obviously, this game is meaningful for the Steelers. How are you looking at this football game as we sit a couple of days away from it now? What do you think is going to happen?
Well, I mean, the Steelers are still in this position of win and potentially get in. Obviously, they need help, but they've been in that position before. I mean, I remember standing on the field in Cleveland near the end of a game, and Ben Roethlisberger and the Steelers were waiting for help. I believe it had to do with Kansas City and a field goal. And I remember Ben turning to Tracy Wolfson at the end of the game, being like, "Tracy, do you have a score? Tracy, do you have a score?" Like, yes, they need help, but they're still alive. They're not dead. Right. And so while I would sit here and from the Browns' perspective, I love hearing Myles Garrett say, "Oh, we want to be spoilers," and "Oh, they are our rivals," and "Oh, we want to end on a great note," and "Oh, how you finish really informs how your offseason goes," and all of that. Let's see if they can make that just as meaningful as winning to get into the playoffs. The Steelers will make meaningful. That was not a sentence that made any sort of sense, and I apologize to my grammar teacher. There was no construct there, but
your underlying point was taken.
Here's the important thing: at when the Steelers were 2-6, you were on.
That's her husband.
You were on.
That's actually the voice coach. He's way more responsive than my husband, but okay.
So at 2-6, you were on with us, and I was doing a victory lap that I was going to be right, that the Steelers were going to finish under 500. It was in the bag. Now, we all know the reality is the Steelers are beating up on the Sisters of the Poor to get all these wins. I don't think do they have a quality win in the whole list?
Who cares? You beat who?
They're all quality.
They beat a bunch of scrubs.
I don't care. It's still hard to win in the National Football League. Win.
You're right.
That's it.
I'm making excuses. They would have no chance of winning in the playoffs. But if they win this game, they will finish over 500, and I will be wrong. Do you want to proactively, before this game, take a victory lap back at me right now?
I love Adam. Like, this is one of those things, like, I'm not tied to any organization. So it really, like, what's the point in sitting here? Someone sent me a tweet.
No, just to bust my chops. I think you should just bust my chops.
Line for wins. No, someone sent me, I think the line was originally set at 7.5 for the Steelers in terms of wins, like at the start of the season. And I had tweeted, this is the highest paid defense, or this is a defense filled with playmakers, game changers, whatever. On offense, they're going to be able to do what they want to do. They rebuilt their offensive line, definitely take the over. So someone actually just sent that to me and was like, "Oh, look, you were right. You knew what you were talking about. All right, great. Like, who cares?" I just don't, Adam, I don't know. I don't know. This could go every which way. And it's certainly, I actually had this conversation with a Steelers player yesterday, and I'm not going to sell anybody out in any way. And obviously, no fan and no player ever wants anything other than to win. Nobody is thinking about, well, my draft position might be better, or my coaching staff might change this way, or, nobody ever wants to lose, period. Like, that's it. And let's stop talking about, well, it might be better for the whole of the organization if X happens, because no player, no coach knows that he's going to be there for the next year, the whole of the organization. Having said that, there's certainly a segment of people who follow the Pittsburgh Steelers who would like to see some very, very, very significant change to the offensive design, scheme, play calling. And the Steelers making the playoffs makes it harder to see Mike Tomlin, who is loath to make change for change and who is incredibly loyal, makes it harder to see Mike Tomlin being compelled to make change. Yeah. Because that has been a conversation point this year that, Chuck Noll at one point was forced to fire 4 assistant coaches by ownership and was told, you need to change this up. And he did, and the Steelers saw immediate success. Dan Rooney, the late Dan Rooney, basically forced Mike Tomlin's hand and said that as much as Ben Roethlisberger loves Bruce Arians and as much as Bruce Arians is loved, this offense needs to change. Ben Roethlisberger needs to be able to get rid of the ball quicker, stay healthier. We need to do something different. And Bruce Arians was sort of encouraged into a pseudo retirement, which we all know it wasn't. And Todd Haley was brought in. Ownership compelled that. In the last however many years, ownership has not compelled anything when it comes to Mike Tomlin's coaching staff. There has been a lot of unrest about the offensive coordinator, play caller in Pittsburgh. And I think that there are certainly people who sit here and say, is this Steelers team really built for a Super Bowl run? No. So if they're just going to get into the playoffs to lose in the first round and to keep the staff as it is that really as good long-term as if perhaps they don't get in and some tough decisions need to be made? I'm not saying that a player will ever say that. I'm not saying that a staffer will ever say that. But there's certainly, fans talk about all sorts of things. So that's definitely something that fans in the city of Pittsburgh are talking about. But of course, then there's that other piece, the fans hate the Browns. And so they don't want that to come against the Browns. Did you guys hear what Ben Roethlisberger said?
No, what did he say?
He said, well, I think that the Steelers I should find the exact quote, but it was something along the lines of, well, I think the Steelers should win this game, not to put any pressure on anyone, but, it is the Browns.
It is the Browns, yeah.
I mean, that's what he said. I'm quoting him.
Point.
He's a D-bag, but it is fair.
The Browns is the Browns, basically.
Are you allowed to say that on a streaming TV show? Is that acceptable language?
Oh, we've said far worse.
Listen, we've broken bigger rules than that one.
Yeah.
Hey, I said that on the radio.
The Christmas game, I had Alan Faneca on my radio show, and we were kind of talking about the Saints and the Browns, and at the end of that game, in those 3rd and 1, 4th and 1 situations where you knew the run game was working and the Browns are throwing the ball. And so I was asking him, as an offensive lineman, when you can push guys, do you ever speak up? Do you say to your coach, trust us? And he's just like, I don't care if it's 4th and 6. We know when we're moving people, and we're just like, run that bleep. And we lost him on the radio because, there's
dump.
Whatever, delete. So they had to, dump him. So they dumped him. And then they call him back up, and the poor guy's in Louisiana, and he's like, hey, guys, I'm so sorry. The hunting cabin out here, the service isn't so great. No one had the heart to tell him, well, actually, Alan, you can't say that on the radio.
Yeah, you got dumped. You didn't lose his service. You got dumped.
You got ghosted, dog. You didn't even
That's
know.
all right. Let him keep thinking that. That's fine. That's perfectly fine. I want to ask you about a topic that Bull and I got red-faced on earlier in the show, and it's numbers. Okay. And I think these numbers are meaningful. Bull says they mean nothing because they lack context.
Brace yourself.
There's a couple screen. You have a monitor, right? You can see what we're going to put up.
I do. Yes. Yep.
Okay. These are the numbers this year with T.J. Watt. 7-2. The Steelers are 7-2, and the opponents are scoring just over 17 points a game. Without him, they're 1-6. And the opponents are averaging 8 points a game more when TJ's not on the field. That's this year. Arguably, that's a smaller sample size. That's all we have this year. For his career, the Steelers with him, now obviously they had a much better team for some of these years, but for his career with TJ Watt, they're 58-26.
And 2 ties.
And 2 ties, and the opponents have scored 20 points a game on average. And when he hasn't been there for his career, they're 1-10, and they're allowing almost a touchdown more per game.
And Aditi, my point on this is that he's only missed 4 games before this year, so we don't so 4 games before this year doesn't prove anything. Jay's trying to say, well, it's a 90-game sample size, but there's a lot of guys that played in those 90 games. So how do I know how much of a factor Watt is?
No. But you know what? Because sometimes you need context to the numbers as somebody who was there basically for every single one of those games of his career.
That's why I can't
even tell you. Yeah. This is what's so fun. Mike Tomlin hates to talk about the intangible or the emotional or the gray as opposed to the black and white. But let me tell you, this is all about the intangible. And this is all about how TJ Watt makes everybody around him play better. Now, yes, in a very tangible football X and O way, he demands so much attention that frees up an extra guy off of Cam Hayward. Sure. That means that the offense is sliding towards TJ, and maybe Alex Highsmith over on the other side isn't being chipped or doubled on every single play, and other guys can make plays. That means that the whole entire rush is better, so suddenly the back end has more time to be better, to play better coverage, whatever. All of those pieces, yes. But beyond that, TJ demands so much of his teammates. I mean, I can't tell you how many guys have said that when they wake up on Sunday, TJ scares them. And Monday through Saturday, the guy is a great guy. He's a wonderful guy. When he shows up on Sunday, that is not the man you want pissed off at you. And that is not the man that you want think you are shirking or not playing your hardest. And there is something absolutely infectious in the way that he approaches the game, his level of seriousness toward the game, and what he brings every single time the ball is snapped. It just forces everybody around him to play at a different level. And I know that you're going to say, oh, that's this woo intangible. How do you possibly quantify that? Just let me quantify it as somebody who has observed the game of National Football, observed games in the National Football League for 15 years. I've watched players, I've watched games. There's just something about him that makes everybody around him raise their level. It's a fact, Adam. It's not.
Aditi, I'm not arguing anything you said. Obviously, you would know better than I. Jay's point was that those statistics that he gave you proves that TJ Watt is the best defensive player in the league.
No, I didn't. No, that's not what I said. If you go back and look what I said, I asked the question, does this make him the most valuable player in the league? Yeah.
Right.
That's what I said.
I said that was
it's an interesting question, right?
It does.
Well, it's an interesting, we're talking about this at quarterback, and we're talking about Jalen Hurts and what has happened to the Eagles without Jalen Hurts. Does that just prove how valuable Jalen Hurts is? You could make the argument being available every week, like a Patrick Mahomes, is actually more valuable than not being available. So I would always say the guy that plays every week is just, I mean, don't they say that one of your best abilities is your availability?
Well, that's the most important part,
Like, this is
Can't help the club from the tub.
He said about Eli Manning all those years, that Eli Manning knew when to throw the ball away and live to see another down. The fact that he was there for his team every single week, that he had that consecutive game streak, was a statement on him. Being there to show up and being there for your teammates is a big part of it.
Aditi,
yes, go ahead.
I think what I really wanted to hear from you on is, and I want to be clear, if anybody mistook what I said, he's not going to be the MVP. He will not be. And that for a myriad of reasons. Number one, he missed too much time and you got to be available. But the question that I think is a very fair question to ask after looking at those stats is, not is he going to win the award? The question that I want to know after looking at those numbers, do these numbers further convince people to say that he may well be the most valuable player on the defensive side in the NFL? He's won the award, I think, once.
But how would that prove anything with no context with other players?
I'm asking.
Doesn't prove anything.
I think it's also. I think it also speaks to your ability to take over a game. I remember the year before TJ was Defensive Player of the Year. I was not sent to the Super Bowl that year. So the NFL Honors show I watched from home, sitting on the couch next to my husband. That's when they reveal all this. And I remember Matt, my husband, who is a Steelers fan, being like, okay, it'll be TJ. And I said to him, I said, no, it's going to be Aaron Donald. And Matt was like, how could you say that? TJ had all these numbers, and TJ this and TJ that. And I said, you watch, it'll be Aaron Donald. And it was indeed Aaron Donald that year. And it is simply because Aaron Donald had a greater ability to take over a game and had exhibited that regardless of what was happening, regardless of whether there were 3 defenders on him or not. And that year, TJ had Bud Dupree for a period of time, drawing extra attention as well. And again, football is not about one person. Football is all about the puzzle pieces fitting together. And the same way that I say you play who's opposite you, you play with the hand that you're dealt. But there are certain players that no matter what, regardless of what is around them, can take over a game. And sometimes the way we talk about Cam Hayward, that there are 3 men on him and he still somehow bull rushes them and gets 20 yards downfield to chase somebody. Right. And I think that TJ, as great and wonderful and dynamic and as gaudy as the stats are and all of that, I still think that he's obviously in that conversation, but I don't know if he's the number one guy who completely, totally takes over a game.
Hell,
when J.J. Watt was at his
to Bull's point, when I watched Micah Parsons this year, particularly in close and late, he, to me, this year has been what Aaron Donald was in the Super Bowl.
I agree.
When the Rams needed him to step up, this guy made ridiculous play after ridiculous play. And Micah Parsons has been making these plays in close and late all year long, where now we're at the point where we're not wondering if he's going to make it. We're just wondering what he's going to do to take over the game.
To come up with that big play. And look, I think that is ahead of TJ Watt. I think that there have been periods of time that TJ Watt has been that. That's just not him this year, but of course he's dealt with so much injury-wise this year. And the trauma of his brother needing his heart brought back. I can't remember the exact phraseology for it. It's been a year. It's not him right now. That doesn't mean that in the future.
Right.
I just wouldn't say that he is the number one defensive player in a vacuum right now.
Yeah, and it's so hard to say the best. It's hard to do that with quarterback. When we say who's the best quarterback, we never talk about, well, it's clear-cut this guy. We say, well, Tom Brady does this, and there's Patrick Mahomes, and we list 3 or 4 or 5 guys, and I think they're kind of interchangeable. They are essentially close to the same person. They make big plays.
I think Patrick Mahomes is clear-cut number 1 now.
I do think now because Tom Brady has finally aged out.
I think the debate is number 2. Who's number 2?
To that point, I really think that the number one thing, which is very, very subjective and not necessarily easily quantifiable, but I really think the number one trait should be, do you make people around you better? And so when you talk about Patrick Mahomes, look at who his receivers are. Like, who is he throwing to?
Yep.
And how long has he had with them? How much time has he built chemistry with them? We're not talking about Tom Brady and Gronk, who know each other better than anybody. We're not talking about Ben Roethlisberger and Antonio Brown in their prime. So
he does
I think it's that.
I would disagree with that part because he has Kelsey now for a while.
Sure, yes, but he's not. Kelsey's not the only one that he's throwing to.
No, but he's better. I mean, career-wise, he's probably better than Gronk, I would say.
Yeah, again, yes. And I'm not diminishing that. But I'm saying Patrick Mahomes is using everything that is at his disposal, and he's got 3 basically new receivers, none of whom are really, like, top flight.
That is correct.
Like, we're not talking about A.J. Brown here, or Devontae Adams, or, wherever you want to go with that. So I think it's just, do you elevate the play of your teammates? And are you good? Another thing I think is that, are you not only reliant on one guy? When you talk about Kelsey, I remember Joe Burrow, and it's funny because I just talked about this with Trevor Lawrence this past week. Joe Burrow, a year ago, there was a point where all 3 of his receivers, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd, all had somewhere in between 60 and 65 receptions. And I remember having the conversation with Bengals offensive coordinator Brian Callahan, who said to him, that was the single most meaningful stat, because it meant that Joe wasn't just forcing the ball to Jamar, his favorite receiver that he had the best chemistry with, that Joe was literally scanning the field at all times and choosing the best option. Who is the best guy to throw to? He was going through his reads in the best possible way. And so Trevor Lawrence recently has been doing the exact same things with his receivers, with Jones and Kirk, and with his tight end, Evan Engram, and distributing the ball so well. And so I was asking Trevor about this and going through his reads. And interestingly enough, Trevor actually credited Doug Peterson and Press Taylor, Zach Taylor's brother, who's his OC, saying they're actually really calling what the best play is on every single snap.
Wow.
So he was saying that they are, it's not necessarily Trevor going through his reads as well, it's that the play call is that good. Like every snap, Doug Peterson knows what matchup to exploit.
Well, you need a drink, and we got to run. Happy New Year, Aditi. Always great to have you on the show, and I hope you get that frog out of your throat and have a great weekend. Are you doing the Browns-Steelers game quickly?
No, I'm not. That will be the Greg Gumbel, Adam Archuleta, AJ Ross crew.
Okay.
Gumble.
I was hoping we'd see you on that team.
I was supposed to be in Denver. The reason that I'm late this morning, I apologized. I was going to be on the sideline of the Chargers game, but it was just decided this morning that I will instead be on the NFL Today with what continues to be very, very happy updates on Damar Hamlin. And I'm personally hoping that he's brought home to Pittsburgh.
Yeah, it was great news today.
It was great news. And you know what? If they're if they're smart at CBS, they're going to see you on that set, and they're going to say, we need her presence every week in studio on this show because they do.
Well, I'm going to be standing outside a hospital, Jay. I won't be on set. I'll either be outside a hospital in Cincinnati or outside a hospital in Pittsburgh.
All right.
Speaking of on set, when you coming back to this set?
Yeah. After the season?
I think when the season's over.
All right,
when the season's over.
We'll have a bigger chair next time.
My way.
I promise.
We get you a chair. A
a
throne.
bigger chair.
We're waiting.
Can't wait, guys.
We're waiting breathlessly for your return. Happy New Year, Aditi. Thank you.
Bye. Happy New Year, my friends.
Bye.